Okay.
Hey, how's it going? This is Allison, Sunshine Girls Painting.
And I'm Tom with Sunshine Girls Painting.
Yes, he is. He is the sun in sunshine because we are a family-based, loving, happy company. Anyway, we do treat all of our customers and our staff like family because I really think that we're all in this together. So it's not only fantastic that Tone and I are family, but it extends out to all of the people that we work with as well. And always, always very grateful for the people that we
Yeah.
have working with us. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and the people we get to work for.
yeah, for sure. Like all of you, all of the yous. Um,
All of the people.
yes, we just feel very, very fortunate. If it wasn't for this business, Tone and I would not have the life that we've had, and it's because of how great our customers are and the support that we've always received. So, wasn't planning on saying any of that, but I just have deep gratitude in my heart. So, thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you very much.
So today we are talking about ceilings. What do you do with a ceiling? Tone, do you have any ideas?
You can paint it.
There you go. You can paint it. Uh,
Mhm.
maybe talk first about the different types of ceilings.
Yeah, so there's all different kinds of ceilings. There's smooth ceilings, which obviously are smooth, and then there are popcorn ceilings, which is that really heavy, bubbly texture that you find on the ceilings. Really, as soon as you touch it, it kind of flakes off. It's called popcorn. And there's different grades of how heavy of a texture that is. The heavier texture, the more messy it gets. The more of a stucco look, like a rock dash stucco, it looks like. And then you can get into like California knockdown, which is basically like smoothed out texture on a ceiling, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of elevation change, but it's smoothed out. And then there is like old school plaster ceilings that we've painted, where they have like these big waves through them, and those are kind of irritating. But for the most part, what you'll see nowadays is smooth, textured, like a California knockdown or popcorn, typically.
Yeah, so you have that range of completely flat to super texture, and everything's going
Yeah.
to land somewhere in between there. And there are certainly things to worry, like to take into consideration when you're painting some of these ceilings. Like Tone said, that popcorn ceiling can fall down really easily, and so you're usually better off spraying it. Super light spraying though, so you might want to multiple coats, but a really thin coat so that it doesn't get heavy and fall off.
Yeah.
The skylight texture is a whole other animal as well because it can delaminate, like the texture can come off super, super easy. So just before you put a paintbrush or a roller to a ceiling, just kind of know what it is that you're working with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also know how long it's been since your ceilings have been painted, because that's also, if you can, because that's also a huge thing too. Because what we run into sometimes with painting ceilings is we'll go to start rolling it as if when it's not a heavy texture, and all of a sudden all the texture will fall down because it's never been painted. It's super dry and super old, and then we run into problems around that, which make things a little bit difficult as well.
Yeah. And it's easier for us to sort of compensate some of those problems because we recognize them that they're happening faster and we know how to test ahead of time to avoid a lot of these problems. But for an average homeowner, if you're doing it yourself, just get some tips. Feel free to reach out to us and ask us, like, we're painting our own ceiling. Can you give us some tips? We have tons and tons of tips for homeowners if you're doing your own painting. And we totally support you doing your own painting because one, you're either going to love it, fantastic, or you're going to appreciate us more when we come to do it for you. So either way. So
Exactly.
let's talk a little bit about color. This is
Yeah.
what people say, like, what color should I paint my ceiling? Do you have comments on that?
Um, I'm of the belief that you should always paint your ceilings white, unless you're in like a theater room or a specific type of room where it makes sense to paint it a different color. But for the most part, keep it white. It
Yeah.
just makes everything look more fresh. It's crisper. It's cleaner, and yeah, I would just say white.
And
Unless you're in like
if
a
you
theater room.
take that time to find that perfect white, that excellent cream that you want on your ceiling, once it's up there, one of two things is going to happen. One, it's going to look darker because it's overhead, and you're going to go, "Whoa, that's not as bright as I wanted it to be." Or it's just going to look like white.
Yeah.
So over the years, these are some of the things that I've had designers say that homeowners should do. That they should do like a quarter or a half tint of the walls. Well, that's maybe great if you're never going to change your wall color. But I always think, make choices today that are going to make your tomorrow cheaper and easier. So if you have, say, a pink on your walls and you have a pink tone because you've used like a quarter or a half formula on your ceiling, your ceilings are going to look pink. If you then want to have green on your walls down the road, your ceilings are really going to look pink. And so now every time you change your wall color, you're going to have to change your ceiling color. And I don't know about you, but I've got better things to do with my money than to keep painting my ceiling over and over again every time I want to paint my walls. So that's one of the things that I've heard a designer say a lot of. I've heard crazier things too, where just get a measuring cup and take some of the wall paint out and pour it in. Don't ever do that because you can't replicate it. So if you get through your ceiling and you've got a gallon that you've used and now you have like this much left of your ceiling, you are never going to match that color with just a half cup if going into a wall color. So it's crazy talk. Don't do it. One of the other things you can do, if you really feel strongly about having your color in your home, take your color chip. So say, you're not going to do it pink, but hold it above your head like this, and look up at it to see how dark it's really going to get, because you'll be surprised. And a flat ceiling is going to look darker than an angled ceiling just because of the way the light hits it. So that's some of the things that you can think about when you're painting your ceiling. So you really want to know what it is that you're painting so that you don't cause damage to your ceiling, and that you're going to be using the right techniques, either brush and roll or spray, that you're not going to pull down your ceiling. And then when you're thinking about the color of your ceiling, like, I don't know if you remember, Tone, but on our house on Macaulay, back when we lived on that street, I agonized over the perfect cream when I bought that house, what color was going to go on the ceiling. And then, I don't know, about 5 or 10 years later, whatever, we painted it white. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know my ceilings weren't white. But once it was all painted, it still just looked white. So all of that time I took agonizing about my ceiling color just didn't benefit. Ooh, I think we lost Tone there. Oh, he came back. And so it didn't look any different. The other thing that really impacts the color in your ceiling too is the amount of texture you have. So the smoother your ceiling, the more true your color is going to be. Tone keeps jumping and leaving us all of the times.
Phone calls, I'm sorry. I'm a popular man.
You're a popular man. The smoother the ceiling, the more true to the color it's going to look when you're holding that color overhead looking up at it. The more textured the ceiling, the darker that it's going to look, even darker than when it's smooth overhead, because all of those bumps creates hills and valleys, and it casts shadow, which makes that color look darker. So no matter how much time you spend thinking you know what color is going to be up there, it's not going to be what you think it is.
And white just looks cleaner. Like, it's just crisper, and white goes with everything.
Pretty much, and you're not repainting it all the time, because I don't know if you're doing it yourself. It can be really painful for people who don't have the right technique to do it. Like, it's hard on the neck. And there was another thing I was going to say about ceilings too. Oh,
and your ceilings don't always have to get painted with your walls. Like, some people are like, oh, well, maybe I should do the ceilings, when really they don't get the wear and tear that everything else does. So find a color that's going to go with everything.
It is cheaper to do your ceilings at the same time as painting your walls, and it does create a cleaner finish. So if you think you're going to be doing the ceiling at any point in the near future after painting your walls, do it at the same time. That's usually because it's more affordable, and we like more affordable. A couple of the other things too is often what we will see is somebody splashes spaghetti sauce or something on their ceiling in a kitchen, and then they get up there with a wet rag and try to wash it off. Don't do it. If your ceiling's not been painted, you're going to actually start wiping off the texture, and you're going to end up with a flat spot that's going to look really noticeable, and nobody likes that. So don't ever wash your ceiling without first knowing if it's been painted. And there's a few techniques. So if you want to find out if your ceiling's been painted, just reach out to us and we can tell you a couple of techniques. One of them is just to scrape the ceiling and see if it comes off like with your fingernail. If it comes off really easy, chances are it's not been painted. So that's one thing that you can do. One of the other things too is that if you've painted your own walls and you've hit the ceiling with a roller, because that can happen, don't go rushing out to the paint store and buying a gallon of ceiling paint thinking you're going to be able to touch it up, because the texture, the color, the paint, the original look, whatever it is on your ceiling is not going to be the same white as the white in a can, because the white in the can, this can is going to be different than the white in this can and the white in this can. So it's impossible to match your ceiling if you don't know what's on it.
Yeah.
So there is a solution. Do you want to talk a little briefly about Covers Up?
Sure. So there's a product out there. It's a Zinzer's product, and it's called Covers Up, as Allison said. And what we use it for is small little touch-ups that may need to be done on ceilings that are white or slightly off white. Anything other than slightly off white, it won't match to. But what it's really good for is, sometimes when you walk into a home and you see somebody has done a brush line up along the ceiling and they've kind of wicked up onto the ceiling. Well, you can use that if the ceiling's white and kind of just like blend it out. Also, great for ceiling hits, where you can kind of just spray it up. It's an aerosol can that shoots straight up in the air, and it's brilliant. Also, what we use it for is water stains. So if there's any kind of like water leaks that you've had in your home, or moisture stains or anything like that, it's amazing for that. We spray it on, then we can put latex over top of it because it is an oil-based product, and it's brilliant for hiding. I don't think it's shellac anymore.
Oh, not okay. So
It used to be.
keep in mind, though, the further you move away from your wall into the center of the ceiling, the less successful you're going to be with it. It's going to just show more. The closer you into the corners, the more shadow and the more forgiveness you're going to have. So that's Absolutely. One of the, just spray it in the center of your ceiling and expect it to be fine, because chances are it's not going to work.
If you're spraying in the center of the ceiling, expect to paint your whole ceiling.
Yeah. But you try it first. You might get lucky. But really light coats, and so that it sort of fans out. You don't want to just like and really get a heavy coat on there, because it'll show for sure. And don't buy Upshot if you're hoping it's going to match, because Upshot's more yellow than Covers Up. And so it looks a little bit more like a nicotine stain in your ceiling, which is never really attractive. So go with the Covers Up. It's just going to look that much cleaner. You're going to have better success with it. And again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. We love answering questions.
Yeah. It's any kind of aerosol white primer spray, don't get, because it will yellow, as Allison said. So it's not just Upshot. It's any kind of aerosol primer. It's not good. So if you're going to do it, specifically get Zinzer's Cover Up.
That's the only one we use. So, But hey, feel free to try whatever you want. This is just our expert opinion. And we are definitely, if you've had different experiences, let us know, because we always like getting more information as well.
Absolutely.
So that's it. That's all we have to say about looking up and dealing with your ceilings. And if you have, again, I can't say this enough, if you have any questions, definitely reach out. Always more than happy to answer your questions. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah. So I'm Allison.
And I'm Tone.
Open up your house.
And let your sunshine in.
That's right. Have a really great day.